Jesus Christ, what in the hell happened with my countdown? But yeah, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? That don't look too shabby. Oh my god, this lag. Holy shit. Holy shit, that is lag. It's the fucking backgrounds, I swear to God. They're so bad. StreamYard, what the fuck? Sort your shit out. But guys, we are back. And what a Saturday it's been. Mad Saturday. Really mad Saturday. It's not every day that as a football fan, you go into a game ready to support your team, anticipating what's going to happen, the fallout from it, the takeaways, the positives, the negatives. But at the same time, before you've even kicked the ball, your club announces, well, by the way, a fullback we needed to sell's gone. He's now out the door, and the replacement right back is coming in, and also the second centre back is on the way in as well. So essentially, three, from Fabrizio Romano, three here we goes. Literally just within like 30 minutes as well. Like all three within 30 minutes. Three pieces of business done in 30 minutes, thereabouts. It's madness, absolute madness. I mean, when's the last time that's happened for Man United? Three here we goes, an outgoing and two incomings, with very much probable cause within the next week to have one, maybe if we really push, two, or if we really, really, really push, three. Let's say, for example, Scott McTominay is a midfielder we need to sell, the easiest midfielder to sell. Scott McTominay gets put on the sale list, or maybe Eriksen decides, you know what, actually, I've changed my mind. I'm actually going to head off. Thanks, guys, but see you later. Maybe Eriksen goes. And that brings then Ugarte in, because again, like I've said before today, the three deals waiting to happen with terms agreed is Mazraoui, De Ligt and Ugarte. Terms agreed, they're waiting. Literally just get club agreements, get some handshakes going, and they become Man United players. Ugarte's in the same boat, but it's still reliant on one of two things. Either the price dropping from PSG side of things, that they say, well, okay, yeah, sure, we'll compromise, or we sell a midfielder and then match, if not slightly underhand, the requested fee. So there's ways to that, but also there's also Hermoso. That the noise around Hermoso has gotten a little bit louder. So in terms of what I've seen today with the Community Shield game, which we'll dive into in a second or two, I think it's quite obvious that in terms of the personnel we've got at the back, yeah, we definitely need some drastic improvements. And I think with Hermoso, is it the complete package, the total package that that Man United get with this, with Hermoso, or is it more sort of a, well, he's good, he is very good, he would be a massive improvement, but he might not be exactly what the exact type of player that Manchester United are looking for. But are there better market alternatives at this current time? Because I mean, we've, in terms of defensive signings, we've already done Lenny Yoro, we've just done De Ligt and Mazraoui, so that's three. You get Hermoso, that's your fourth defensive acquisition in the summer, and get him in on a free. Would be interesting about wages as well, because I can't imagine Atletico wages would be that high. So maybe there is a good bit of business to be done there. And if Lindelof heads out the door, and I think Lindelof should head out the door, I think Evans, based off of his performance today, he's just signed a contract extension, so we're not getting rid of him. But to be honest, that wasn't a good performance from Johnny Evans, and Maguire was just Harry Maguire, to be honest. Just Harry Maguire. Not bad. He wasn't bad today. Harry Maguire, but Harry Maguire's Harry Maguire, isn't it? When you're Manchester United and you're thinking about, eternal glory, you're not thinking about Harry Maguire, lifting trophies and Champions League finals and Premier Leagues and, big competitions. You just don't think about those sort of things. So, yeah. Big ups to Mr. Bajlani. Good to see you. Hope all is good with you. But yeah, let's talk about the game a little bit here. So I think, as the title suggests, there the better team lost. Do I think that we played City off the park or ripped them to pieces, or they were at 6s and 7s? Not at all. In no way, shape, or form were Manchester City destroyed or beaten with any real conviction in any capacity. It was anything, if anything, it was more 50-50, a 50-50 game where one team created better chances and created more of them. The other team, with less chances, just took them. And I think there was more to write about in terms of if Man United won, they'd say, well, damn, deserved winners. By far and away deserved winners. But today was decided on penalties. We were not beaten in inside 90 minutes by Manchester City. And we were, I'd say, if you want to give it percentages out of 100, Man United probably about 55 to 60% to Man City's 45 to 40%. Both teams had, I think the first 30 minutes for Man United were 30 minutes really to sort of forget. That was Man United, I think, sort of a bit of a shock to the system, like not really planting the foot and getting stuck into the game. But once United got the first chance in, then the momentum started to sway to be more a 50-50 game. And that's when all those chances started to come through for Man United. And Man United, genuinely, in not the first third of the pitch, but rather the last two, looked significantly better. I think the transitions from defence into midfield was not that good. I think Diogo Dalot a bit rusty, a bit of ring rust. That's absolutely fine. That's expected. Community Shield. Speaking factually about the game, it is a pre-season game. It's essentially it's a charity game. It's friendly rules. It is friendly rules. So, we can't sit here and say, oh, we lost to Man City. We're being bantered. I mean, we actually played in large parts of the game better than Manchester City, and without really a squad that you'd sit there on paper and say, yeah, that team should be slapping the opposition up or playing better than. I mean, Man City are coached significantly better than Manchester United at the moment, and we still had large parts of that game where we did play some good stuff, but it's everything else as well that sort of brings the sort of cloud9 feelings about watching United play some good things. There's some dampeners on that, and I think the defence today, the only two players in that defence today that started, that will at all get game time this season, or at all should get game time, was Diogo Dalot and Lisandro Martinez. Dalot in the position that he's set to play this season, and then you've got Martinez playing more or less out of position in the left back, in the left back position, which is not his first choice position to play in. I think we actually had Amas on the bench, which was supposedly meant to be playing, but then ended up not playing. So I'm curious to know what happened with Harry Amas before the game, because he did travel, strangely enough, but then just didn't play. So I'd like to find out what happened there. But yeah, I think just not really not really too comfortable playing in the fullback position, but then they switched things around, and by the time Lissandro got back into a centre back position, he looked a bit more natural there. Did the things we expect Lissandro Martinez to do. Of course, with a bit of pace injection in the back lines, the only issue with that back line would just be the pace. Would genuinely be the pace of Harry Maguire, which is the only thing you really got to worry about, because that Maguire in the team essentially means your back line is not really high up the pitch. It's not progressive enough. It's not going to have an out ball that's consistently good enough. That really fits the bill to what the manager wants to play. So there's always going to be difficulties, big difficulties in possession when we've got a Maguire on the pitch. But not to say that he was any bit responsible for us not winning today. For me, I don't think he was. I think I think the biggest outstanding issues with today were actually in the final thirds, and not just in terms of what actually happened on the pitch, but something else that was a little off pitch issues that I have, and quite a big issue at that. So we'll get into that as we sort of go through the team a bit. The midfield, I think we were reminded today the positives and the ups and downs to a Casemiro being in the midfield. We saw a good element of experience and some of the execution in a progressive sense with Casemiro, and bits, little murmurings of quality as well, which is always nice to see, and what you would expect as a minimum from a Casemiro. Kobbie Mainoo next to him again looked maybe a touch of rust there, but he was all right. He was fairly steady, and as I allude to in previous shows gone by, sometimes just the steady performance is enough to warrant a good result for your team, especially in those positions which are so crucial at times. Games can be won and lost in midfield, so it's easy to overlook a player in midfield if they're not just superstar standout. Everyone's eyes are on them, even though we know Kobbie Mainoo's got the potential to do that. Most weeks I would expect just a steady, composed performance, which hopefully, in terms of the player that starts next to Kobbie Mainoo, that we see a little bit more pace and tenacity with the introduction. I'm hoping the introduction of Manuel Ugarte, because it might still not happen, depending on what happens in the markets. But I can imagine that Ugarte will get him in, and that some cogs are turning. We were told that this weekend into next week, expect a lot to happen. Expect the club to be very, very busy. Today they were very, very busy. Just today alone, in one day, 3 bits of business wiped off the chalkboard. Done. Ticked, signed, sealed, delivered. 3 bits of business, done, solved. Now there's more bits of business to do. Now you've got to achieve that in as quick a time frame as possible, because as we know, Fulham, Friday night, and then you've got games after that as well. 2 more games before, I believe, the transfer window slams shut. So we've got some work still to do. But in terms of other performances in the game today, our midfield, of course, we spoke about Casemiro, showed us a little bit of why perhaps we would seek to sell him. And for me, his wages being a big issue there. If you can sell him, that's a lot of money to claim back, and the money that you'd spend would be cheaper. It will cost less for the club to go down that road with the replacement signings, if you will. And ultimately, is it good enough for Manchester United? I wouldn't have said so. Not quite. good enough for Manchester United. But with Casemiro, if it's a day where he's not feeling it, it could be catastrophic. If he's not showing himself enough in that midfield, if he gets ran past too easily, it's long. It could be curtains for United in a lot of games. We need somebody who's going to not just bring the quality to the table. We need the consistency as well. Consistency is such a big element in modern day football, especially at the highest level. And Manchester United, with last season, the biggest sin of all, was the inconsistency from game to game, and not just game to game, but also minute to minute. We literally go from being on top 1 minute to completely, you know, Joseph parting the seas, or Moses parting the seas, sorry, not Joseph. And, attackers just running through on goal. I mean, not just attackers, midfielders as well, all sorts of things happening. So, yeah, not the sort of player that you're wanting to pin the hopes of this season on. So, United big problem is this Rashford, Marcus Rashford. Oh, Marcus Rashford. What do we say? Well, there is one more player in midfield that I'll just quickly address first that played. That started, actually. We'll do subs, I think, afterwards. But Mason Mount, advanced midfielder. I didn't see a lot from him today. Not really in any significance. I didn't really think that there was a huge amount that he quite committed to. I think there was one. Was there a goal? Was it the offside? I can't remember which one it was. Whether it was Garnacho's goal or the offside goal that Bruno scored. But there was some sort of involvement from Mason Mount in the build-up, which, outside of a singular pass, there wasn't really anything that he was connecting the dots with in the midfield today. He wasn't pulling strings. He wasn't controlling tempo or dictating the outlet balls. Dictating the passing over to Rashford on the left, dictating passing to Ahmed on the right, or playing this sort of almost like it's like a false 9 and a 10 sat one behind the other, but rather than sort of like interchanging, maybe Mount goes ahead of Bruno at times if he comes deeper to create, when then Mount becomes more or less of the guy that's in charge of the final ball. But rather than sort of, it feels like there was not really a lot of interchanging between the two, if that was the plan. And I think Bruno much more involved in the critical elements of the game, in the critical aspects. Mason Mount a little bit of a passenger today, but a little bit of tenacity, energy. That's what we want to see, is energy on the pitch, and a desire to try to make things happen, even if you don't succeed. Keep trying if you really put in the effort, because I think Mason Mount can have a bit of ability to him, but he's got to really, really push, really push to actually make change on the pitch. Especially if you are in those attacking midfield positions, because there's such a huge amount of what happens up top that goes through you. And, Mason Mount in an attacking capacity, not really all there, but he was not perhaps the biggest issue with he definitely wasn't the biggest issue with today's performance in front of goal. He wasn't anywhere near the biggest issue in front of goal. I'm going to go with Bruno first. Got the assist on the goal for Garnacho. Lovely finish from Garnacho, by the way. And a very convincing penalty. Fair plays to him. For me, with Bruno Fernandes, being utilised as a false number 9 sort of gets me a little bit confused, maybe a few question marks about what is the plan in that area of the pitch. Is it the false 9 that everyone's in the striker position going to be playing, or is there going to be the striker role? Because with Bruno playing as a false 9, Xerxes was on the bench. Does Xerxes play a false 9 role, or is he the second option for the out and out finisher that plays up top? Same sort of role, maybe a different style of approach with Xerxes on the pitch than what it would be if Rasmus Højlund was up top. I think in terms of how we are approaching that, I mean, Sancho also is being touted as a player who, given his versatility to playing anywhere across the front three, surprised we didn't see him sooner. You know, I know people might be a bit pissed off with him that he missed a penalty, but it's a penalty shootout. It's quite literally, unless Man United are quite good at penalties and have been pretty damn good at penalties in recent years, right? They have been pretty good at doing penalties, but today, 2 missed penalties against Manchester City, and that's all it takes. But, you know, Jadon Sancho, he had it on target, but just Ederson, you know, made the save. You know, I can't really fault him for that. It's just it wasn't to be today with him. But with the versatility prospects that Sancho has, in playing anywhere across the front three, does he also play the false 9, or is he more central striker? Or is the intention not to play him in that position, but rather than as a creative outlet from the wider positions? I don't know, to be honest, but I think with Bruno today, I think there's certain aspects that I like the idea from what Bruno was doing creatively, but sometimes the execution was missing. And I think on a different day, given that he perhaps plays a bit more, a few more games, we start to see him connect some more of those passes. And he wasn't necessarily looking for Hollywood passes, like in terms of the range, the distance in his passing wasn't completely out of left field where he's trying to do 50-yard passes all the time. Just a little more calmer. And one thing that I do like about what, in terms of passages of play from that I saw from United today, was the intricacy, was some of the intricacy that we saw in some of the give and goes, the movement in tighter spaces from the players that perhaps come in from wider positions, and some of the midfielders that pushed up towards the box. There are some good takeaways from those passages of play. Which, to be fair, in Casemiro's case, he could and should have had an assist today. He really, really should have. And that does take me on to the player on the left, Marcus Rashford. We'll address Marcus Rashford. Let's get the on pitch outstanding negative done and out the way first, because I want to end the on pitch points on a high. I want to leave talking about the on pitch performances, I should say, on a high. So we'll do that. Let's get the dirty laundry done and out the way. Marcus Rashford, what can be said that hasn't been said all of last season? What can be said? So with Marcus Rashford, for me, it just looked like what he was trying to do with pre-season just wasn't there at all. You know, the little snippets of any semblance of returning to form just wasn't there. It you know, didn't happen. It just didn't click today. And Marcus Rashford in front of goal, the one positive that I will give to him is in the final third, in and around the box. Was he in good positions to receive the ball and take a shot? Absolutely. In better positions, not starting from further away with more bodies to try and get by. He didn't start further away in this game. He was constantly getting a lot closer, and a lot, just in general, a lot closer to the goal. So obviously it means when you get the ball in those positions, is it justified to take the shot, to look for the opportunity to score? Absolutely. It's a lot better than trying to take a half chance from about 30, 40, 50 yards out, and just completely throwing a chance away. Marcus Rashford, with his execution in the shooting department, was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. There was both times he had time to measure, time to place, and get the technique right. All of them. Like, I think it was from the pass from Casemiro. He got the technique on the spin, but he planted the foot too far inside on the ball and sent it right the way. Like, it wasn't close to the post. It was really, really far wide. So it's like he's getting the angles completely wrong. Whether that's a pressure thing, whether that's a confidence thing. For me, as a Mr. Manchester United, the poster child of the club, you cannot, under any circumstance, be having confidence issues on the pitch. Because, I mean, that's a big telltale sign that you are, in dire straits, especially with other players set to come through and take your place. There is competition for your place at the time. So, if you're not showing, and for me, it's a case that with Rashford, if he's not finding the back of the net, for me, there's other parts of this performance that is still last season. He's like mentally, he's still over there, rather than really trying something new to in today for this season. Garnacho in respect for a winger's performance, outperformed Rashford today. He takes Rashford's spot on the left against Fulham. Amad Diallo claims the right side of winger position. Rashford, I think what we have to see from Rashford, and my patience for him is on the floor. If people have watched me for a little while, will know my patience with Rashford is on the floor. So for me, whether Ten Hag plays him off the bench and sees what we see, that Garnacho is the option to go with, Rashford has got to start from the bench. He has got to start from the bench and find the impact from there. Yes, he got into good positions to shoot. Ten Hag picked that out as well. He said, yeah, Rashford was in good positions to score, but he completely lacked the execution to complement it. So it's like you do 90% of the work in those scenarios. The small, just a little finish at the end is all you need. But outside of those chances, didn't really offer an awful lot more. Whereas guys like Garnacho did, and Amad Diallo, fantastic performance from Amad Diallo. Honestly, it's not been many times where I've watched a Manchester United team with a winger that's quite tricky and actually causes defenses, Man City defense to panic. And it did look like at times, as soon as Amad Diallo out on the right gets the ball in his feet, Vardiol's sort of a little bit, try and show him to the outside, but man, I don't know if I can live with, switching the body to come to track his run on the inside if he does cut inside. Because a couple of times he did, Vardiol's completely out the game. And it's that sort of daunting challenge that a winger has to create, especially when the ball's at the feet. The dribbling matters for a winger. and beating a man off the dribble massively, massively matters. Diallo did everything. He did everything right. He did everything he needed to do. Unfortunate with the finish in a passage of play where he did so much right, but he had the same issue, I feel like Rashford did. He got the angles for it wrong because, I mean, fair plays to him. He's not taking the time to measure it because he's literally he's in a telephone box with, you know, so many sky blue shirts. He's got no time to do it. He's got no time to execute it. But the work to put himself in that position on another day, he chances the angles that are much more centric, and he puts the shot on target, and maybe it goes in, maybe it doesn't. But if it goes in, everyone will be singing his praises for the next month. You know, and because Diallo's got the ability to do that, he's got it in his locker, and that is out just straight away. Amad Diallo starts in the right wing for most games this season, unless by some miracle Antony or Sancho playing on the right, if they do play on the right, they end up coming out with some mad resurgence, you know, the greatest comeback that you've ever seen by a player. I don't see it happening for them, but that for me is the only way that we see Amad Diallo fall out of favour. It's just everything that he has with wanting to put on the shirt for United and perform. It's everything. Like, the talent is fantastic, and the desire to want to perform and do well for the club is really appreciated. But it's like there's a bit of wisdom in him as well, where it's like he will, in terms of how he goes about playing, he feels like he always knows what he wants to do. So there's no real sort of like, oh well, I'll get into this position, but I'm in two minds. Do I want to take the man on? Do I want to release a pass? Do I want to go this way? Do I want to take it to the inside, go around the outside? And sometimes in football, especially the highest level, the half second you take to think is the half seconds that the defender doesn't think and acts and takes the ball from you. With Amad Diallo, he sort of maps it. He maps what he wants to do and starts, yeah, now I execute it. And he sees it right the way through to the end. And that I can appreciate, because there's a plan from a footballer that incites football intelligence. He's got the idea and he provides the execution, and he's got the talent to execute. So, you know, fantastic performance from Amad Diallo. And you could say probably, especially in the first half, man of the match performance. I couldn't tell you why Diallo is subbed off and then Rashford stays on. I couldn't tell you why. A bit like Bruno Fernandes. I couldn't tell you why Fernandes wasn't moved into midfield when Mount went off and Zirkzee then comes on. Joshua Zirkzee, where was he? Where was Joshua Zirkzee? Honestly, that's the biggest thing that really baffles me about today. No idea where Zirkzee was. Big up Hot Fuzz and chat. Big ups to the Goat Saves Football. They count. Good to see you. Hope all is well with you. Currently landing the minerals in Portugal and seeing it all. Dead fish in the swimming pool and cat vomiting in the restaurant. What's next? Oh, bloody hell. Well, I'll tell you what, Portugal, God, I'd so love to be out there right now. Genuinely. Portugal is, you know, it's not just for me like a fantastic holiday location, but I just want to go live there. I just want to live there. Like, every time I'm there on holiday, I've just been like, well, I genuinely don't want to go back home. I feel a lot happier living out there than I do here. You know, and with the direction this country's going, the less said about it, the better. But it's not great. It really ain't that great. But besides, of course, dead fish in your swimming pool and cats vomiting everywhere. I hope you thoroughly enjoy your time out in Portugal. Um, I wonder if it's like the northern parts of the country or the southern parts, or if it's like Porto, Lisbon, or further south in the Algarve. For me, the Algarve is where it's at. It's got to be the Algarve. 100% it's got to be the Algarve. Um, but yeah, I haven't been up to Porto. Sometimes I've flown into Lisbon, and maybe we take some time to explore Lisbon or Porto. Both places look rather nice, rather splendid. Give them a bit of a tour around at some point in hopefully the not too distant future. Um, Mate, it isn't 2-1, it ended 1-1. Error Breakdown TV. I hope, first and foremost, I hope you get your TV fixed, because TV breaking's never really that fun, especially if you're a football fan, because it means you can't watch football unless you've got a phone and or a Fire Stick and a computer monitor. But yeah, you find your ways around those sort of things. But it ended 2-1 in precipice to the result that Man City won the result. So it's addressed as a 2-1 to the team that won the penalty shootout, but it is captioned or inside the brackets, if you will, after penalties. Because if everyone says, well, it ended 1-1, it doesn't really give the verdict of the result, or officially give the verdict of the result, because in other formats I see it pronounced as a 2-1. But it is also captioned like how it is in the title, after pens. But that's just how I've abbreviated it. If you abbreviate it differently, then that's probably just how it is. But yeah, that's how I've perceived it, as a 2-1. The game ended in 90 minutes as a 1-1, but ultimately, they get the extra point off of scoring goals, because otherwise I could probably have said, well, Man City won 7-6. A Community Shield, that'll be a bit long, a little bit long. So, but yeah. Nonetheless, welcome to the stream, Error Breakdown TV. Good to see you here. Garnacho will speak about his goal, his finish. Alejandro Garnacho, very, very nice finish, and it coming in from the right hand side as well. Good to see with Garnacho that he can find the impact, cutting inside, either from the right or the left. There's danger. He brings danger. Just he does something. He's always doing something, whether it works or not. It's something. He's working hard to really cause an indent on the opposition. And today, tasked with the right wing, cuts in, beats a few players off the dribble. Fantastic. Very much what Amad Diallo was doing. We give him all of his flowers, absolutely. And the finish, well executed. Doesn't try to hit far post or hit a lot of spin on it. Disguises the ball slightly with a nice straight low finish into the near post, and Ederson well beaten. So no complaints at all about the finish from Garnacho. Fantastic finish, and all other aspects of his performance also very, very nice. Very, very good stuff. I've got a lot of appreciation for Garnacho today. And if we are playing with Garnacho on the left and you've got Amad on the right, both players capable of the same thing, doing the same thing, cutting inside or going out, and keeping the fullbacks on their toes. I like to see that. I really do like to see that. And sometimes it works better with, I suppose you could say with Man City's case, it's like if you have Jack Grealish on the left, but then Mahrez on the right. Grealish does the winger role on the left-hand side one way, Mahrez does it different on the other. Some teams will have that. that complex. But with Manchester United, you've got two players that can do the same thing, but I think also possess it in their personal games to be able to switch it up so that you can ask Amad to do one thing and Garnacho on the left to do another, and that they can both execute it with great efficiency. I think that is fantastic to know that there is that option in the attack, and I'm hoping, please, I'm hoping that with Ten Hag you can actually see that, and that you don't opt to go with trustworthy players or your preferences or favourites, because at this club you cannot play favourites to any degree, to any margin, because the biggest issue that Ten Hag is going to face, if there is any semblance of playing players that don't really play off of meritocracy, then, and if it is just, well, he's the more experienced player, so we play him, is he playing better than the alternative though? No, he isn't. So why not play the alternative who's better? It's like in football, when you do something, you don't just stop doing it because you prefer the other way. You do it until it stops working because it was working, right? You don't just change for the sake of change. You change when something stops working in football. Playing Amad Diallo on the right is working. Don't change it. Garnacho playing on the left would most likely work. Don't change it. Right? Or Rashford is not playing well on the left. Change it. You know, Rashford off the left at the moment is not working as well as Garnacho would be off the left. That's when you pull the trigger. That's when you say, now we change. And I'm hoping that that's the same mentality used for the rest of the squad. You know, players right the way throughout the team. I think we cannot, under any circumstances this season, play anybody because the manager just likes them. I really would like to. I do hope that we'll see the manager playing players because he really likes their performances, and that, you know, we all see the same thing. We're all on the same page as the fan base, because that's always that does give, you do get brownie points from the fan base when you do that. But ultimately, if a player doesn't play well, you take them out of the firing line, stick them on the bench, and say, you know, knuckle down and work harder, because you're being outperformed by this player. If you can't do it, if it's not within your repertoire, Dan Ashworth, talk to him, get your agent on the line. The exit door's over there. And I see a lot of it. I see a lot of people saying, well, yeah, sell Rashford. The window's open, sell Rashford. Probably some people feeling like, well, sell Rashford before Sancho. Some people say sell Sancho because he missed the penalty. Some people say, well, Sancho missed the penalty on purpose. You know, former City player. But, you know, I don't believe that Sancho would miss a penalty on purpose. I just think Ederson, you know, judged it correctly. And, you know, good penalty taking as well, by the way, from their goalkeeper. Thank goodness Onana didn't take a penalty in this. That would have been horrendous. Although I think Onana would actually be quite decent at penalties, because he does like playing like an attacker when he's just playing to have fun. Not at elite level football by any means, but seeing some of the clips of him when he's playing around with friends, he literally plays as a striker. He just doesn't care. But yeah, I mean, Onana as well today. I mean, there's a lot of people saying, well, cocky, arrogance, you know, trying to play mind games in a penalty shootout, and other instances like that. I think for the most part, as far as a game standpoint goes, straightforward performance from him. Nothing really bad or untoward with him, and nothing, you know, fantastic, like no unbelievable saves. I think there's just one moment where I feel like he judged something a little wrong, where I think that it was, the ball goes wide of the right post. It was in the first half, wide of the right post, and Onana chases it, but Haaland's already on the ball. So essentially, he's too narrow. He's not really making himself big at all. But Haaland then sort of chips the ball backwards, and straight away Onana's completely out of the goal. And it's like, well, why'd you put yourself out there? Shouldn't it be a defender that runs out there? Because there was a defender in that vicinity as well. So I think quite fortunate that, Haaland sort of fluffed it a little bit and sent it just as a sort of slow ball into the middle for a defender then to clear it. But yeah, that could have been that could have gotten quite ugly quite quickly. Set pieces as well. Improvements, I'd say were made there. Definite improvements. I think from a defensive capacity, it's quite easy for United to be quite exposed, especially from zonal marking from corners or free kicks. And in other various instances, I'd probably say to a defensive capacity, the cutback pass was still on for City, but the players there weren't really looking for it at first glance. So maybe a little bit fortunate in that side of things for United. But I think everything else today with United, forget about the first 30 minutes. Everything else that game, there's quite a lot of good takeaways from that. There are quite a few good takeaways. A few concerns still. Of course, the fantastic news that, of course, the outgoing of Wan-Bissaka meant that we could pull the trigger finally on a Mazraoui and Matthias de Ligt. That definitely means for me, de Ligt starts on the right. As long as we can register him as a player before Thursday, then he may be fit enough to play, or maybe ready to play. He was on the bench tonight against Tottenham Hotspur in the UK. So do you know what? That might actually be the point that both Mazraoui and de Ligt were in London today on the bench against Tottenham. Unused substitutions, I believe, as well. So they'll probably stay in London and then head up to Manchester. I'm hoping that's the case. Sort out the deals and probably do get some of their personal teams to move their bits over to Manchester. But just complete those deals and sort everything else out. I've forgotten the term for it. The logistics. That's it. The logistics of their personal things can be sorted out across time or across the next couple of weeks or so. But yeah, for me, those two players straight into the setup. I think as to what you do with the fullbacks, does Mazraoui play at left back because Shaw can't be trusted to stay fit? And that's a conversation I think we might need to have about Luke Shaw with his fitness. Can we at all trust Luke Shaw to stay fit? Because the backup at the moment is a player that hasn't kicked a ball in over a year now. Tyrell Malacia has been out of football for so long, and that is the backup choice to Luke Shaw, who himself can't stay fit. Whatever is going on with Luke Shaw at the moment, I really don't know. He finished the season unfit, slightly injured, went on international duty, trained to get into the first team positions or to get a game or two at the Euros, played at the Euros, comes back to Manchester United after a little bit of time off and is immediately not fit to play. And I just don't know what is going on with some of the personal fitness of some of these people. And Luke Shaw's been at the club for a long time. He's not necessarily been, frequently injury prone, but there is a cause for concern there. There is a cause for concern that in terms of the depth side of things, it makes signing Hermoso it makes signing Hermoso almost a guarantee. Like it has to happen, because what's the plan B there? And because it would be a free transfer, of course, Ineos I think would like that on the money side of things. But really, what would the plan be if not for signing some further cover at the left back position, whilst Shaw struggles with his fitness? It's like with Chelsea and Reece James. I mean, Reece James again, a muscle injury for Chelsea, which is extraordinarily that they spent a whole pre-season and got no injuries. Well, there you go. There's your first injury, and it's to your fullback / captain for next season. So yeah, that's problems in that side of things. But yeah, today is just to summarize it, just to sort of be like the TDLR or TLDR, whichever one it is. But so the breakdown for today is that plenty of positives to be upbeat about. Of course, we didn't win today. Of course, Manchester City, they will celebrate with the glorified golden dinner plate. I hope they enjoy their steak cuts with some golden cutlery to go with their dinner plate that they won today. Ultimately, it serves as a charity game, right? It's a pre-season game, and if we want to indulge in some more of the craziness of football, hey, maybe we look at it like this: the last three Community Shield losers went on to win the Premier League. If that's a sign that we so you're telling me there's a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. If we go and somehow shit house our way to win the Premier League, I mean, I've already said, I'll lose. I'll lose the hair. I'll lose the hair. I'll shave myself bald if Man United win the Prem. And seeing things like that is teasing me. It's teasing me. It's just like, you sure you want to say that? You sure you want to say that? Because if that happens, you've got to yeah, you've got to do those sort of things, and it won't end well for you. But yeah, I can't imagine Man United would win the Prem. But it is what it is. If it happens, I'll be overjoyed. But it'll be long for me. It'll be long for me. Being a skinhead, for the first time in my life since the day I was born, I'll be a skinhead. Yeah, don't want that to happen. I want Man United to win the league, but ultimately, that'll be horrendous. That'll be really horrendous. I'll probably get the channel taken down. I'll look like my thumb. Genuinely, it would look like my thumb. But anyways, guys, please leave your thoughts, your feelings about the match today, and also the transfer news that we've had today with Wan-Bissaka leaving the club, and also Matthijs de Ligt, Noussair Mazraoui, both coming in together as the joint package deal. How do you feel about that one? Leave your thoughts and feelings in the comment section below. Make sure to hit the likes as you leave, and if you're watching on playback, please also smashing the likes if you are watching on playback. All support massively helps the channel grow on the road to 300. Whether we can get 300 across this year before Christmas would be fantastic if we can do that. With, of course, the football starting to kick into gear. A little bit of a slow summer, but yeah, we'll stay optimistic. We've got to be optimistic, and gotta stay on top of things. So yeah, 100%. If we can hit 300 before the year is out, that would be phenomenal. So yes, big shout outs to everybody that's tuned in. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow, Sunday Night Takeaway, 8 o'clock, streamed from over here, but also on Early Doors Football TV. Do be sure to come check that out tomorrow at 8 o'clock at night. So I'm targeted by Yorkshire Gunner subscribers saying I'm a negative fan. It's I just to be honest, mate, I literally I could not give a toss about YouTube beef. I really couldn't care. I'm just here to make content because I enjoy doing it. I just enjoy doing it. If people like it, they like it. If people don't like it, they don't like it. I don't give a shit about what they think of my content, and so you shouldn't. So you shouldn't. You know the you know, judge criticism of your content from honest criticisms, and if it's harsh, it's harsh. If it isn't, then it isn't. But you know, being humble when you know that the criticism comes from a good place and not just from a tactic of trying to bully people, like it seems to be quite the common theme. Like, for example, on somebody else's stream, the racial argument was being used because of some agenda that apparently exists, which doesn't. So that was interesting. Um, but yeah, it is what it is with those sort of things. Big up for the stream. Well, thank you very much for tuning in, Go Saves Football. I appreciate you being here. I was on Michael.Chelsea FC stream earlier for the FA Cup. The FA Cup with the Community Shield, but absolutely, yes, I did forget that Michael.Chelsea was going to be streaming that game. But yeah, big ups to you for that one. Community Shield, yeah. But yeah, big ups to you, man. And also big ups to everybody else, Mr. Bajlani and also Error Breakdown TV. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, we'll catch you back here again tomorrow at 8 o'clock for some takeaway and takeaway football talk on other bits and pieces. And maybe we can poke and prod our Arsenal fans a little bit more. We've done some more transfer business. What about what's happened after Calafiori, guys? What's happened there? What's happened there? I know Anthony's hurting inside. Anthony Herbert, he's hurting inside. Absolutely. Arsenal, one piece of business. Man United have just knocked it out of the park with three pieces of business in 30 minutes in a day. And looking to do more after that. So, yeah, it's going to be fantastic scenes tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it, as you are yourself. And yeah, good stuff. But anyways, guys, that's it from me for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Saturdays, whatever it is you may be doing. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, take care and speak to you all again soon.